Sports Radio Network. And here's your host, Chris Barrett.
Hello, Skyhawk fans, and welcome to another edition of Hawk Talk on the Skyhawks Sports Radio Network. Today we're going to recap last night's Region 4 Section 2 championship game between the Scott Skyhawks and the Chapmanville Tigers. It was a great crowd last night at the Logan Fieldhouse, and everyone in attendance got their money's worth. And if you weren't there, you missed a great one. It was an intense game right from the opening tip that saw several lead changes and a lot of fantastic basketball. I was able to catch up with head coach Nick Cabell of the Scott Skyhawks, and this is what he had to say before the game.
I'm here with Coach Nick Cabell. First off, congratulations for making this sectional game.
Thank you. The boys played good the other night. They deserve it. They worked hard, and we're glad to be here.
Tonight, there's no mystery. It's Chapmanville. You're separated by 15 miles. It's always been a bit of a rivalry, intense game. Is there added pressure with it being up for the sectional championship, or is it you going into it just as another game?
Well, anytime it's sectional championship, it's always going to be a little bit more pressure than I guess most games. A little added incentive, is that you get to host your regional game, and that's the biggest thing that you want to be able to do is to bring that regional game back home so you can have your home crowd and your home floor, and you can do all those things that you're going to be playing in. A week from now, you're practicing the same facility you're going to be playing in. So I don't know if it's so much pressure, but just you just want to be able to have that advantage, I guess I should say, for the next game, because win or lose tonight, you are going to go on. But the whole thing of hosting it and being able to bring a team to your place for a state tournament berth is huge, and I think the boys know the emphasis that we put on that. They come out and play.
Expected a great crowd here at the Logan Fieldhouse. Did you do anything different to prepare your guys for it, or?
Well, not so much, not really for the crowd, but you only have one day to prepare. So the coaches and myself, we got together after the game Wednesday night, tried to get together a plan to give them, and we had one day to practice and had a film session, and then walked through today, and pretty good practice yesterday. I can't say anything negative about it. The boys were focused; they were always listening, attentive, and we got a lot of seniors, so that helps. So, you don't have freshmen or sophomores goofing off because they know those seniors will get them, will get on to them. I can't fault our kids for their focus yesterday at practice or today. I'm sure Chapmanville's just as fired up, but I think it's going to be a good game. No matter what, I don't believe it's going to be more than a 5-point game either way, and should get the fans interested all the way to the very end.
What type of game could you expect from the Tigers tonight?
I would say that they are going to try to really, get in their sets, run their sets. At Scott, we were able to take him out of it a little bit with the ball pressure. I'm sure he's done something to try to alleviate some of that pressure off of Dalton. They're going to try to get into their bigs somewhat, with ours, and try to battle us on the boards and get putbacks and get easier layups there. But Butcher's a scorer if he hits some shots, behind the arc, which you're going to expect he's going to do. They're a hard team to beat. If we can keep him down to a reasonable number on points and then contain everybody else, we should have a pretty good chance with them. But they're going to look to get Butcher shots, get Dalton in lane, dish into their bigs for layups and putbacks. We've just got to take care of everything and execute our game plan and our defense. Either way, a really good team is going to have to travel to Polk, and that's a tough test, tough road to try to get to state tournament.
All right, there it is, the keys from Coach Cabell himself. Coach, good luck tonight.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, we'd like to thank head coach Nick Cabell for that interview before the game. He said two things. They needed to limit the shooter, Josh Butcher's, opportunities and keep Trey Dalton out of the lane in order to try to win this sectional championship. So let's jump into the action and see what the Skyhawks were able to do. In the first quarter, Skyhawks center Anthony Sigmund would win the tip and senior guard Cody Brown would control the ball. But it was the Tigers that drew first blood as Chapmanville's Kenny Plumley would find teammate Brady Cox for a layup to push the score to 2-0. Scott would answer as junior Logan Webb was fouled driving to the basket, and he would make one of his 2 free throws to make it a 2-1 Tiger lead. Chapmanville would get 2 more baskets, making a 6-1 run until Scott Jr. Eric May would get 2 points off of a putback on an offensive rebound with 5:24 remaining in the first. After Scott's Logan Webb found senior Cody Brown with a quick backdoor pass, Skyhawks senior Brandon LaFouch would hit a three from the right wing to give the Skyhawks their first lead of the night with 2:36 remaining in the first quarter, 8-6. Chapmanville's Trey Dalton would answer with a floater in the lane, tying the game at 8. And after a basket later on in the first, Scott would lead after the first quarter, 10-8. The Hawks would finish the first quarter with a 9-2 run and have a lot of momentum going into the second quarter. And with the score 10-9, senior Alex Abels would get an offensive rebound and put it back up and push the score back to a 12-9 Skyhawk lead with 6:08 to go in the second quarter. Later in the second, with the score 14-9, Scott, Chapmanville's Josh Butcher, would hit a 2-point jumper, bringing the score 14-11 with 4 minutes to go. And then, off of a missed three by Scott, Chapmanville would add 2 more free throws from Zach Casto, cutting the Skyhawk lead to just 1 at 14-13. Scott would add back-to-back baskets from Anthony Sigmund before the Tigers' Josh Butcher would use a screen to hit a three and bringing the score back to a 2-point lead, 18-16, Scott, with just 1:54 remaining. Chapmanville would add 2 more buckets before the halftime buzzer and go into the locker room with a 20-18 halftime lead. Chapmanville would end the first half on an 11-4 run and have a 2-point lead heading into the break. Chapmanville's Josh Butcher would lead all scorers at the half with 7, as Scott's Eric May, Anthony Sigmund, and Cody Brown each chipped in 4 for the Skyhawks at the break. In the third quarter, Scott would start with the ball, and off a Sigmund miss, Chapmanville's Brady Cox would get a layup, pushing the lead to 22-18. After a baseline violation, Chapmanville would inbounds the ball underneath their own basket, but the inbounds pass was stolen by Scott senior Brandon LaFouch with 7:18 remaining, leading to a breakaway layup, but was fouled hard from behind. LaFouch would stay down for a short period of time before being helped off the court. He would not return to the game. Skyhawks would bring in sophomore Patrick Underwood to shoot the free throws, and he would make both, bringing the lead down to 2 at 22-20. Score would hold until Chapmanville's Kenny Plumley hit a 2-point jumper with 5:59 remaining, pushing the lead 24-20 Tigers. After trading baskets, Scott Jr. Eric May would hit a right wing three to bring the Skyhawks to within 2, 28-26, with 3:50 remaining. And after a great defensive pressure, Scott Sigmund would put back a May miss to tie the game at 28. Sigmund's putback would give the Skyhawks a 5-0 scoring run, and Scott would take their first lead at 30-28 since the 1:21 mark to go in the second quarter after a pair of free throws from Eric May. Chapmanville's Josh Butcher and Scott's Patrick Underwood would trade three-pointers, and Scott would take a 33-31 lead heading into the fourth quarter. The Skyhawks would use a 9-3 run to take the lead after 3, and the scoring wouldn't stop there as both teams began to catch fire for the fourth quarter. And just 30 seconds into the fourth, a Tiger steal would lead to a fast break and a dunk by Chapmanville's Kenny Plumley, tying the game at 33. At the 6:06 mark, Chapmanville's Trey Dalton would score a layup, but was assessed a technical foul after the play, and Scott's Eric May would hit both Tech free throws, knotting the score up again at 35. After a three from Chapmanville's Butcher, Scott's Cody Brown would hit a 2-point jumper spinning off a defender with 4:39 remaining to make the score 38-37 Tiger lead. Butcher would hit consecutive jumpers for the Tigers, followed by free throws from Plumley, would extend the Tiger lead 44-37 with 3:06 remaining in the fourth. Scott would use defensive pressure to cause Chapmanville to call back-to-back timeouts with 2:35 remaining. After Chapmanville's Dalton hit one of the 2 free throws from the line, running the score 45-37, Scott's Logan Webb would end the 7-0 Tiger scoring run by hitting a 3 to bring the Skyhawks to within 5, 45-40. After a Skyhawk timeout, Scott would force the Tigers into a 5-second inbound violation, but the Skyhawks were unable to take advantage of the Tiger turnover. And after a pair of free throws from Chapmanville's Brady Cox, Eric May would then drive in and cut the lead to 47-42 with 1:36 remaining. Chapmanville would add 2 free throws from Butcher, pushing the lead to 7 before Scott's Dylan Dehart made a 3 of his own and would cut the lead to 4, 49-45, with just 1:11 remaining in the fourth quarter. After 2 free throws from Chapmanville's Plumley, Scott's Logan Webb would hit a 3 from the top of the key, cutting the Tiger lead back down to 3 at 51-48. Chapmanville would add a free throw from senior Joseph Tackett with 49.2 seconds remaining to push the Tiger lead to 4 at 52-48. After a Scott turnover, Chapmanville would have problems getting the ball in and get a 5-second violation. Scott's junior Eric May would then hit a corner 3 with 25.8 seconds to make it a 1-point Tiger lead. Chapmanville's Butcher would add 2 free throws for the Tigers, and with 6.3 seconds remaining, Scott would come down the floor and junior Eric May would find Logan Webb in the corner for a game-tying 3. Chapmanville would then inbound the ball to Josh Butcher, who would take 2 dribbles and heave a prayer from half court that would rattle out, sending the game into overtime. After the heave from Chapmanville's Josh Butcher, the officials would have a conference at midcourt, and it was ruled that the 3 from Scott's Logan Webb was ruled a 2 because his foot was said to be on the line, giving the Tigers a 54-53 win over the Skyhawks and the sectional championship. After the game, I was able to catch up with Coach Nick Cabell about the game and get the explanation he got from the officials, and this is what he had to say.
All right, I'm here with Skyhawk head coach Nick Cabell following the 54-53 loss in the sectional championship game to Chapmanville Tigers. Coach, what's going through your mind right now?
The shooter got hot. I mean, we tried everything. We tried to put a junk defense on him and key a man on him, try to deny him the basketball. They ran him off several double screens, and if he got any daylight there, he seemed like he's knocking everything down. We got to give it to our guys. We were down by quite a bit. I don't know exactly what it was and how much time, but they fought back. We battled, man. And we talked about being relentless, and they were. Just, a couple things here and there go the other way. It was a totally different ball game. And down the stretch here, that was a wild last 3 minutes or so, 4 minutes of the game. Part of you wants to be proud of your boys for the effort they gave there, but part of you is mad too, just because they let it get to the situation it was at. So, a lot of mixed feelings going through your coach right now.
I know you said that you let them get to the point of the controversial call. What was the explanation that the referees gave you there at the end of the game?
They said he was on the line. And of course, we've got our guys on the floor said they looked at his toe, it's behind it. But the official from the very beginning put 2 fingers up, the other one had 3 fingers up, and the one overruled the other one. I think he was closer, so I guess it was more his call than the other one. I just don't know how one can see it behind, one can see it in front, but that's the way the chips fall, so we'll just regroup, refocus, stick together as a family, and come back and start preparing for whoever wins the other section.
Okay, I know Brandon LaFouche, one of your starters, was fouled going to the basket off a fast break. Do you know the extent of his injuries? Will he be able to play against Poca?
I do not. I haven't heard yet. I know that he did come back up to me in the fourth quarter and said he felt good, ready to go, but we obviously didn't want to test that. Whenever I went over to him, it was he said he couldn't move his knee, so I wasn't about to try to do something there and injure him any further. Knee's more important than a basketball game, so we're just going to try to get him healthy, I guess, for the next game, though, and try to find out what's going on.
After a game like this, you now go on the road and will have to face the winner of the Poca-Nicholas County game. How do you regroup after something like this?
Well, it's a wake-up call. We've rattled off here 10 out of 11 or 11 out of 12 with our only defeat coming to Bluefield. It's been a while since we've lost the ball game, and not that we weren't focused, but now it's time to regroup, get refocused, and be ready to bring our A game once again. Whoever wins that is going to be. They're both good teams. Whoever wins, it's going to be a tough battle for us. It's not like we've never been here before. We've lost 2 sectional championships in the past 5 years and made it. Actually, in the past 3 years, and made it to the state tournament. So, we just gotta do it. Buckle down and do it.
All right, Coach. Good luck next week. We hope to see you. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we'd like to thank Coach Cabell for that interview. For Chapmanville, Josh Butcher would lead all scorers with 18 points, and the Tigers' Kenny Plumley would chip in 12 more to lead the Tigers. For Scott, junior Eric May had 16 points and added 3 rebounds, and Scott's Logan Webb added 9 to lead the Hawks scoring. And to summarize everything a little bit, Coach Cabell said it in the pregame interview. They needed to limit Butcher's opportunities. And in the first half, I feel like the Skyhawks were able to do that. They held him to 7 points. He didn't look comfortable in his shooting motion. And in the second half, you got to give him credit. He was able to hit big-time shots. He got hot, and hats off to him. I felt like the Skyhawks done the same thing they done in the first half, Butcher was just able to come off screens well and found his stroke. You also got to give credit to the Hawks, who were able to shoot 41% from the three-point line. They had to hit big shots down the stretch, and they done it. Hats off to Logan and Eric May. They hit big shots when it come down to it. For the controversial call at the end of the game, you never want to see the officials influence the ending of a game. And whether they got the call right or wrong, the Skyhawks had their opportunities. And Coach Cabell said that. Said that, we allowed them to get to that point to where that call was made. And one thing I got to get to Coach Cabell, after he was explained the call, even though he was upset, just as his players were, he knew when the time was to get in the locker room and regroup his guys. And he said, you got to continue to be a family. And this is the type of loss that can rally your troops and put a chip on your shoulder and fuel you down the line as you try to make a state championship run. The Skyhawks will now move on to the regionals, but will have to go on the road to Poca and face the Dots with a trip to Charleston on the line. And just as Coach Cabell said, it's going to be a tough game next week against Poca, but you got to put this loss against Chapmanville behind you. You've got to regroup and come out ready to play, come out swinging. Both teams are going to have something to prove. There's a trip to Charleston on the line, and you got to come out ready to play. And I believe Coach Cabell and his staff will have these guys ready to play. I believe he'll use this loss last night to the Tigers as a building block, and you'll see a new team as you come out as they face the Dots next week in that regional matchup. Before we go, we'd like to give a shout-out to the Lady Skyhawks as they punched their ticket Thursday night after a regional win over the Lady Huskies. Next week, you'll go on and face Westside on Wednesday at 1 p.m. So Skyhawk fans, make sure you come out and support your Lady Hawks as they make a championship run. And also next week, make sure you go out and support your Scott boys as they take on Poca on the road on the chance to go to the state tournament. Join us next Saturday as we'll have a preview of the Skyhawk baseball team, and we'll also recap the tournament run for your Lady Hawks and also the regional matchup between the Polka Dots and your Scott Skyhawks. That's it tonight for the Skyhawks Sports Radio Network and Hawk Talk. As always, thank you for listening.